So this week we got the St. Patrick's Day Slam, and we kick things off with Cody Rhodes versus Penta, El Zero, Miedo. And I guess this is the grudge match for what happened between them at Revolution. So they battle it out for 15 minutes, but the match ends in a really weird way. Penta does this move where he snaps Cody's arm back, and the idea is that Cody has an injured shoulder and he won't be able to take it. So Penta does it, and Cody just takes it and rolls him up for the victory. What? I thought the idea was that his shoulder was hurt. Why did he just roll him up and beat him like he wasn't even affected? But whatever, Penta attacks him afterwards to set up a long-term feud because of course it wasn't going to end with this match. And there was a thing where QT Marshall was taking a bit to get to the ring to help Cody after Penta attacked him. So I guess they're going to do a thing where QT Marshall is probably going to have some sort of dissension with the Nightmare family. So next we get a Young Bucks interview backstage, and Don Callis demeans them and says Kenny is too good for them, which will come into play later. And there was also a hilarious jab at WWE for their no slapping the leg when kicking rule. And then after that, we get a super quick victory by Jade Cargill over Danny Jordan. So then we move on to the big news from last week, which was MJF turning on the Inner Circle and starting their own group. And I really did not like that. The idea of another group being introduced in AEW is it's just too much. I think we all knew that MJF was going to turn on the Inner Circle at some point, but to start an entirely new group, it just feels a bit excessive. It seriously feels like almost every wrestler on the AEW roster is now in some type of group. Jon Moxley has Eddie Kingston, Pac has the Death Triangle, there's the Inner Circle, now there's MJF's group, there's Team Taz. But anyways, MJF's new group basically just hypes themselves up. MJF makes fun of Jericho by saying his hairline's receding and his pecs are too far apart. And he says that his goal from the first day was to kill the Inner Circle. And he says that his group is now the pinnacle of AEW. So I guess that's their new name now, the Pinnacle. Next, we had a 10-man tag team match with Jurassic Park and Bear Country versus Matt Hardy, Private Party, and The Butcher and the Blade. And of course, like always, Marco Stunt is fed to the other team so that his team can lose. It doesn't matter. Next, we got the Moxen Eddie promo, and they say that the Good Brothers are their real problem and that they don't like them because Mox wasted his money on Talkin' Shop Mania, which, let's be honest with ourselves, nobody actually bought. Next, we got the Christian Cage interview, and the interviewer wants to know why he came to AEW. Guess she didn't listen to Renee Paquette's podcast where Christian Cage pretty much gave his reasoning as to why and how he ended up at AEW. But Christian Cage pretty much reaffirmed what we saw last week, which is that he's after Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship. And honestly, if a day ever comes where Christian Cage is going to become a world champion of a company, I honestly wouldn't mind the way I would with other legends, because I've always been of the opinion that Christian is super underrated. So next up, we have the Jon Moxley Eddie Kingston versus Good Brothers match that the promo before with Mox and Eddie was referencing. And Eddie makes his entrance, but the Good Brothers attack him before the match. Mox comes out to help, and he gets beat down and gets hit with the weakest looking magic killer I have ever seen on the floor. But then the match starts. Mox and Eddie beat the Good Brothers when Mox uses an inside cradle, and the Good Brothers lay out Mox after the match for Kenny. So Eddie tries to save him, but Kenny and the Good Brothers then beat Eddie down. They stomp Eddie's leg while it's wrapped in a chair, and Mox is powerless to do anything. Then they're going to do the same thing to Mox with his throat in a chair, but the Young Bucks make the save and stop their Bullet Club members from hurting Mox any further, which I think is a pretty cool storyline to work with, that there's dissension in the Bullet Club, and Kenny and the Good Brothers try to two-sweet the Young Bucks, but they won't do it, and then Mox drives everyone away with a chair. Now, it was at this point that I really noticed a theme going on throughout the whole show. It seems like every group that is presented has some sort of dissension. We saw before how QT Marshall came out late to help Cody. We saw how MJF came out with his new group after he turned on the Inner Circle. And now we're seeing another split in the Bullet Club because apparently Adam Page getting excommunicated was not enough. Oh, but that's not it, because in the next segment, Darby Allin and Sting come out, and Darby challenges a Dark Order member to take the TNT Championship back. And then Team Taz comes out, and Brian Cage shows his respect to Sting, much to the disgust of his team. So now we have another team that's showing some dissension. Then a promo for Scorpio Sky plays, and I'm actually really excited to see where this heel turn for Scorpio is headed, because I think he's actually another one of those really underrated wrestlers, and I really hope his victory at Revolution leads to a TNT Championship reign. Next, we had Rey Fenix versus Angelico, and I mean, there's really not much to say about this match. Rey Fenix beats Angelico, and that's it. So next, we get a couple of random segments. Miedo tells Kip Sabian that his destiny is to become AEW World Champion, and I can only imagine this is going to lead to another team having some sort of dissension, but I'm actually alright with this one because Miedo becoming AEW World Champion is honestly one of the best things I can think of, since he really hasn't been doing much since he got to AEW. The next segment is actually pretty cute, how Brody Huber tried to step up to take Darby Allin's challenge for the TNT Championship before being told he's too young, and then John Silver stepped up to take his place. I thought that was pretty cute. Then we had the main event match, which was the lights out match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa to conclude a many months long feud. So while Shida watches backstage on a monitor, the same way that AEW mocked WWE superstars for looking at the monitor, she sees both women get color and put on an absolute barn burner of a match. There was one spot where I was genuinely afraid because Thunder Rosa hit Britt with a Death Valley driver onto a ladder, which by the way, I'm pretty sure the ref was kicking towards them, but it looked like Britt landed on her neck and it looked like they went down kind of slowly and softly because I think they knew it was a little bit botched. That was honestly pretty scary to see. And yeah, there was blood, there were thumbtacks, but eventually Thunder Rosa hits a Fire Thunder driver through the table on the outside and covers Britt for the win. This was just an absolutely brutal match that I was not expecting, so kudos to the ladies for stealing the show tonight. An absolutely incredible match and a great way to end the show.